Hello, and welcome to the 6th video of my series of guides on how to use the coding website Scratch. In this video, I'll be explaining how to use control coding blocks. By now, you probably know how to make a project in Sprite, and if you don't, I recommend you watch the first video, but there's still more to learn about sprites and codings that I haven't explained yet. In the last video, I explained how to use event blocks. If you haven't watched that video, then just know that event blocks are used to activate lines of codes without having you to manually click on them. However, control blocks let you further control when specific line of codes are activated during your project. Most code blocks don't do anything on their own, but change when and why certain parts of a code block activate. These are known as loop blocks, as they loop whatever code you put into them until something happens that you set. Not all control blocks are loop blocks, but a majority of them are. This time, I'll just get straight into explaining what the code blocks do, as there isn't much else to explain about these. I'll also use examples from other code blocks to showcase how these control blocks work. One last thing to know is that control blocks, where you can put other blocks of code inside of them, can also put other control blocks inside of it as well. Wait 1 second will wait however many seconds you set it to before activating the next line of code. Repeat 10 times is one of the few code blocks where you put other code inside of it. This one will repeat whatever line of code you put into it however many times you set it to. Forever is like repeat 10 times. It will infinitely repeat whatever line of code you put inside of it. In addition to being a loop block, it's also one of the 3 cap blocks. This essentially means that no other block of code can be placed under it. I'll get to the other 2 in the video. If blank then will check for whatever boolean you put in the space and whether it's true or not. If it's true, then it'll run whatever line of code you put into it. I haven't explained any categories of code that have booleans yet, but they're essentially a thing in code where it's a select piece of information that can either be true or false. In this case, I'll use the boolean key space pressed to showcase this. You can also click on a boolean to see whether it's true or false. If blank then else will run whatever code block you put into the first space over here. If the boolean is true, otherwise it will play the other if the boolean is false. Wait until blank will pause the line of code until whatever boolean you put into there is true. Repeat until blank will infinitely repeat the line of code you put into it. However, every time it loops through, it will check if the boolean you put in there is true. If it's true, it'll stop the loop. Stop all will stop the project by stopping every line of code that's currently playing across all sprites. You can also change this to stop the script, or change it to stop other scripts in Sprite, to stop other scripts in the specific sprite that the code block is being ran in. If it's set to stop all, then it becomes one of the 3 cap blocks that I mentioned, which means no other piece of code can be placed under it in the script, meaning it basically ends that script. Lastly, there are clones. Clones are essentially copies of the sprite that run on their own code, but all have access to the same code. You create a clone with the code block, create a clone myself. You can also choose to change this code block to make a clone of it and other sprites. A quick thing to know is that Scratch has a built-in clone limit of 300 for the entire project, meaning that the create a clone block won't work if there's already 300 clones present in your project. This doesn't come up that often, but it's something important to note. When I start as a clone is a kind of event block that activates whenever a clone is created and runs whatever line of code you put under it for whatever clones are created in Sprite that has this line of code. And lastly, delete this clone is used under code scripts that start with when I start as a clone to delete the clone receiving the script whenever the code block is activated for it. This is the last of the 3 cap blocks I mentioned, which means no other piece of code can be placed under it. And that's all for today. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll try my best to respond. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.